So welcome to the Ambassador meeting here on March 16th. We've got a jam-packed program for all of you here. We're going to be talking about rowing machines today, and Anna Marie is here from Amaze Active Health, which is great. Can't wait to hear what she says. I've spent the last couple of weeks putting together my thoughts on rowing machines, so that will be fun to go through as well. And we also have Diana here, Diana Lazier, on board. And so today, what we have, we'll do a bit of a welcome, some quick little introductions for who's on the call. And then I'll go through the rowing machine reviews, what I put together, some of the resources I found. I'm going to go through it relatively quickly, but when I post this this video on our YouTube channel, I'll post all the links as well beneath it. So if you want to go and explore some of the resources I've found and to help make your own decisions, then you can use that as well. So again, welcome, Anna Marie. We're really excited to have you talk later on today. But I think what we'll do as we start is do a few rounds of introductions. So I'll stop sharing, and well, as we go around, I'd just be seeing as today's topic is rowing machines. I want you to introduce yourself, say where you're from and what your experience is with rowing machines, or any great stories about rowing machines that you might have. And we'll start with Tom. How are you doing, Tom? I'm on Tom's iPad.
Oh, okay. I guess that's me. I didn't know. I'm not sure it was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Where are you coming from, Tom?
I'm from Connecticut.
Okay.
And I have minimal experience with rowing machines, primarily because I'd rather be outside rowing. And that's kind of it.
That's great. Well, that's great to
I
have
have to, as I say, minimal.
Yeah, minimal. That's, go on. I think we all would prefer to be rowing outside. So Aiden, please introduce yourself. Where are you coming from?
Adam, I'm sitting in snowy Switzerland at the moment. So I haven't been deigning to get out on the water at the moment. I have a Concept 2. I've had it for about 15 years. It's been variously used and used as a clothes horse, so it doesn't get that much use, but yeah, maybe I'll be inspired to do some winter training on it.
Okay, well, that's hopefully we can give you some exercises and some inspiration. That's part of this community and our purpose for being in existence. Let's go to Rachel. Where are you coming from? Tell us about your experience with rowing machines.
I'm from England. I'm just outside London in a place called Weybridge. Yeah, a rowing machine is something we use when we can't go on the water, which for the last 2 years has been a lot. Either red boards, which means the water's too fast to allow boats out, or because it's too windy, or because we're in lockdown, which is how we seem to spend most of our life. So yeah, we do quite a lot of goes, but nothing beats going out on boats.
Okay, well that's great. Thank you, Rachel. And John, where are you coming from? What's your rowing machine experience?
Hi, folks. I got my water rower back in 2012, ostensibly for my daughter to practice for her crew team. She quit crew, but I kept erging. So since 2012, I have, I don't know, a couple 100,000 Ks under my belt on the erg, and a bunch of time on the water in a scull. Past year, a single scull because of COVID. And I have a lake house up in the mountains of PA, which is frozen solid, maybe covered with snow. So I have the oar board up there so that I can row on the lake when the motorboaters are towing skiers.
That's great. It's a good way to go around in the bouncy water. Well, it's great to have you on board, John.
I'm waiting to see if they can tip me
Oh, well, I've
once
seen
the
it.
water's warmer.
Yeah, when the water's warm, it's actually kind of fun to tip in when it's warm. Go for a swim. The only time I've actually seen the oar board tip was when we had a bunch of teenagers on them and they were playing Ramaboat, and they had some fun with that. Ron, where are you coming from? Tell us about your rowing machine experience.
Absolutely, Adam. Thank you. It's good to meet you all, and happy day to everybody. I was going to say, Aiden, it's great to have you from Switzerland. I have dear friends in Basel, and I was giggling about your English. It sounds like you went to the English to learn how to speak English, but then I heard
I am
Rachel
English.
from Colorado. I give up.
I am English. I just moved out here 5 years ago, so it's my Deutsch which is nicht so good.
I'm with you on that. The Schweizerdeutsch and the Low Dutch, and interesting. Anyway, I'm Ron Schmidt and I speak Minnesotan. I'm originally from Iowa and Minnesota. Moved out to Oregon to get away from 40 degrees below zero. And now I'm so persnickety that I get on my erg if there's any wind out on the Columbia River. I live on a floating home, have 3 sculls. My preference is to get out onto the water. If it's rough, I'll take the oar board out. I do have a Nordic Track RW 500. That's my inclement device for rowing inside. So look forward to this meeting and learning more about ergs.
Okay, well, thank you, Ron. Appreciate you sharing what you have. Ken, where are you coming in from? Ken Colbeck.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, and I live on a lake, which is, as of this week, it's starting to unfreeze finally. We had about 8 inches of ice out there 2 weeks ago. And I have a Concept 2. I've had it, I guess this is my 3rd indoor season. So I'm pretty familiar.
Well, that's good. Okay, 3rd indoor season. Diana, where are you coming from? And what's your experience on the rowing machine?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Adam. I've done a ton of indoor rowing, actually, a little bit over the years, but we're a little bit lucky in Victoria being able to row year round. So I'm pretty much getting outside as often as I can. We have had a bit of experience selling the water rowers, and they're fun. I like the sound of them. They're a lot better than the ones in the gym, for sure. As far as feeling like you're still kind of in the water. But other than that, we're pretty lucky to get outside year round.
That's great. And Mike Rawlings.
Hey.
It's good to see you here. We've been having some emails back and forth.
Yeah.
Tell us where you coming from and what's your experience with rowing machines?
Well, I'm currently in Crosby, Minnesota, and it's about 27 degrees. Things are thawing. We're expecting 50s in the next couple of days with some rain next week. So maybe open water by April 1st, which would be good. But to get onto the erg, I did a lot of erg when I got out of the military for back therapy. And then kind of came and went with it. When I could get outside on the water, I'd be on the water, sculling or kayaking. But more recently, in 2015, we had the VA games, and I had some heart issues and had a defibrillator put in. And the VA games gave me some incentive to get on the erg again and get a team together. And for that fall challenge in 2016, we won the medical facility category, and that just got people excited about it. And since then, we've been the top 2-person team in the world in these Concept 2 erg challenge. We've won the adaptive category the last 3 years. And so I spent a lot of time on it. You know, I did 11,000 this morning for the challenge started yesterday. And so, yeah, I got my butt's broken in.
Your butt's broken in. Well, and Michael was saying that he's leading an Oar Board team. So if anyone out there has disabilities, is the offer still open, Michael? If anyone has disabilities, they can join your team.
Concept 2, we'll take any. I mean, right now it's just me and Don, and Don's recovering from congestive heart failure. I had defibrillator fire a couple of weeks ago, so I'm restricted to about 120 beats a minute. So I'm just on it for a long stroll every day. So anybody would be, yeah, more the merrier.
Okay, so if afterwards, if anyone's interested in this, send me a note and we'll connect you with Michael and you can go on the Concept 2 World Erg Challenge. It's happening from now until April 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be great.
That's great. Val, are you there? Okay, maybe you're just listening in, Val. How about Jeffrey Lindsay?
Hi,
Hello.
can you hear me?
We can hear you. Where are you coming
Hi.
from and what's your experience with rowing machines?
Hey, I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm working right now, so I might have to cut out the video. But I'm pretty new to rowing. Haven't been out on the water as much as I like, but there is a local rowing spin class called Row Fitness in Austin that I've really enjoyed to meet people and just build up my rowing cardiovascular endurance. But I hope to get out on the water more this summer. One thing I'm excited to do to promote Oar Board is if you check the link I sent to the group chat, that's the boat that I'm going to be using to showcase the Oar Board. I do have the 16-foot long board, but I find that I just always wish I could take more people out on my boat and row with them. So I got a big 6-person, 1,000-pound capacity inflatable, and I'm going to strap the rig to the front of it and take it out rowing in downtown Austin and have a good time.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, and you've definitely shared pictures of that before too, of you out there with people camping on it. And
so one
picnicking.
exciting new wrinkle to that plan is I've decided to become tie in promoting the Oar Board with the coincidence of the launch of a new sports team in Austin. We've got our own soccer team that is launching in a month or so. So I'm gonna just like deck out the boat in sports gear, maybe bring a soccer ball, play some toss the ball back and forth out on the water, and get people rowing and excited about rowing and our new soccer team. So I think that'll be a good opportunity for cross-brand promotion.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love your creativity and your energy. Let's move on to Tony. Tony, if you're there, Tony, where are you coming from and what's your experience with rowing on the erg, the rowing machine?
Are you talking to me, Tony?
I'm talking to you, Tony.
Okay. I didn't realize I was registered that way. Oh,
Yeah.
I've been erging for a long time.
Okay.
I use the Concept 2.
Yeah.
You know what?
Wonderful.
I'm not sure what your question is, but I've been on the Concept 2 since I learned to row about, I don't know, 2000 to 2003.
Yeah.
And I'm 78, and I would say that the erg is responsible for my being in good physical health.
Yeah, it's a great exercise. I definitely concur. It's one of the best actually, rowing. So
Well, I make the joke that I learned how to be in control of the world and rest and remain sitting down. I'm not a runner.
I had a rowing coach who said if you win any sort of thing in the sport of rowing, all it shows is that you're an expert at sitting in your ass going backwards.
There you go.
So
Well, I have another story which is appropriate, that I had a tendency back then to have a great deal of lower back pain. And at that time, I was taking erg courses at my local gym. I came in one day with an immense backache, but I was determined not to miss my session if it was possible. I sat down, we warmed up, we went through our session. I broke a personal record. And at the end of the session, I got up and I was no better and no worse, which means that my posture on the erg was excellent. So that was very good news for me.
Yeah, that's very good. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us. You know, as we age and we get injured, you know, obviously we want to take it, you know, be careful, but don't be scared of the pain and listen to your body and keep it moving. The more we move it, the more mobility we have into the later stages of our life, which is a very good
Learn
thing.
learn how to sit upright properly.
And I think Anna Marie is going to talk a little bit more about that later. So thank
right,
you,
well,
Tony,
thank you.
for this.
Thank you.
I'll move into the next piece of the, you know, of the morning, where I'm going to show you each a little bit of what I've learned and reflected over my time of rowing. So as I've, let me see here. As I load up the window, I'm actually just going to share my screen. Let me make sure I'm clicking the right screen. And here we go. Rowing machine reviews. Big fan of Mr. Bean. If you've ever seen him use a rowing machine, he doesn't do it so well. But you know, rowing machines have a pretty long history. I put in this picture from the Titanic. The Titanic had rowing machines in their exercise room, but rowing machines go all the way back, well, as far as we know, to the Greeks. The Greeks, who had obviously, you know, each model citizen had to carve their oar to be part of the, to be, you know, part of the city, to be a citizen, but to also practice, they created rowing machines on the land. So they're, you know, so the soldiers rowing and the citizen soldiers rowing the big trimarines would have to use those rowing machines. And a number of rowing machines have been developed over time. You know, here's one from the late 1800s showing this rowing machine, you know, from the golden age of rowing, I suppose. Before outboard motors came to be, everybody tended to row to get around, and so rowing was an everyman sport, and everyone would go down to, you know, to watch the rowers row. And over time, a number of different rowing machines were built. You know, we'd have these, you know, these Gilson type rowers that had big weighted flywheels, and you'd push and it would move the weighted flywheels. It'd have this other thing called the Gamut. And here we have the Gamut that's been retrofitted with a Concept 2 flywheel to, instead of using the, you know, the big weighted metal plates, to actually use a fan for resistance. And this is one of the first, you know, Concept 2 rowing machines. And for myself, I've rowed each of these. I've rowed each and every Concept 2. I've rowed the old Gilson. I've rowed the Gamuts. I've tried I went over to not the Soviet Union. I was over in Lithuania a year or two ago and got to try some of the old Soviet ergs over there. And even traveling around in my other life, doing conference presenting and running workshops, I constantly go to gyms and get to try all different types of rowing machines, as well as, you know, my own background as you know, an Olympic rower, and having definitely put in my miles on the machine. But when we're looking at machines, there are 4 main types that I would recommend for home trainers. You know, there's water rowers, air rowers, magnetic rowers, hydraulic rowers. Actually, I wouldn't recommend a hydraulic rower. Let me just put it out there. I don't think that would be you wouldn't get the fitness that you'd want from it. It might be an interesting mobility machine if you think about it, just to groove in a motion or try to get used to using that motion. But for aerobic fitness and anaerobic fitness, when we're talking about heart and lungs, aerobic fitness using energy with oxygen, anaerobic fitness using the glycogen in our body, you know, without oxygen, the hydraulic rower wouldn't necessarily be the thing. There's been an explosion in the rowing machine market in this last year. COVID has certainly stimulated that. There's more rowing machines out there than I've ever seen before. It's actually quite fascinating. Also, I think this coincides with 3D printing and the ability of modern technology to innovate and prototype a lot quicker. You can create these products and throw them out there. And there's so many different rowing machines on the market to choose from. So when you're looking at a rowing machine or you're thinking about a rowing machine, I'll give you my recommendations in a bit, but I just want to seed the conversation with a few questions. So when you're buying a rowing machine, you should think about the size, the weight, and where you're actually going to store the machine. So do you have the space to put it somewhere? What's the length? What's the weight or width? What's the height? And can you store it somewhere easily? Do you want something that can collapse, or are you going to set it up and just use it as a beautiful coat hanger, as Aidan said? Often these exercise machines do become. And it's also to be important to think about your own size and weight. Are you a smaller person, and do you need to make sure that you can actually maneuver this machine around? Or are you a large person? Because I know there's some people in the oarboarding community that are, that are obese, they're 300 plus pounds, and they're using rowing to get into shape. So if you are a larger person who's rowing, make sure that you get a rowing machine that is rated for your weight and can actually hold you. So that's an important thing to consider. You also need to keep into account your fitness goals. Are you looking to be fit for life? Are you a competitor, or are you simply looking for mobility and just gentle work on the body? And depending on the intensity that you're going to use for the rowing machine, that will also influence your decisions. Budget is also a key. And I'll share some resources to help you access rowing machines at any budget. But first, let's learn more. And let's start with the standard. The standard is the Concept 2. Concept 2 is the, let's say, the strong driving force. If you're any rowing club or any rower and you want to compare yourself with anyone else around the world, you will use the Concept 2. It is the most standardized rower. For $900 approximately, you can get a very rugged machine that will last you 20 years. It's relatively easy to maintain. It has a high quality company behind it. I've actually visited their factory and have seen how they operate. It's a great business. They build a quality machine. As you can see, there's the model, I believe, D and the model E. The difference between the two, one is higher. So if you're getting older and you're having more mobility issues in your hips and your knees and you don't want to sit down as low, you can get the taller machine that can be easier to sit down onto and get up off of. There are lots of other standards that are out there. I'd say there's the, especially if you're looking to compare yourself, I'd say the water rower is a great piece of equipment, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And if you're looking to compare yourself against other people, because the water rower is quite widely used, so the scores on the water rower will be different from the scores on the Concept 2, and the scores on, and I put the RP3 dynamic down there, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And the scores are different on all those, but this is, if you're into competition and comparing yourself with others, these are the types of rowing machines you would probably want. Guided workouts are in. This is an amazing type of machine. This is the Hydro, and I've gotten to know the Hydro machine. I've used it a couple times. The workouts are great. The instructors are very motivating. I know Ron Schmidt said he has the Nordic Track. I've seen that Nordic Track and the Water Rower both have workout programs that go along with the rowing machine. You have to get a subscription if you're getting one of these rowing machines. So don't just be prepared not just to purchase the machine, but also subscribe to the fitness place. And so the Hydro is definitely the world leader in this from what I've seen. The Water Rower has partnered with another group called Ergata to create some programs. And again, Nordic Track has some programs out there as well. I've not tried either of those, but and I've not actually ever talked to anyone who's used them. So, but I know that they're out there. And another solution is to actually go on YouTube, go on any rower that you have and go onto YouTube and load up different people that are posting workouts and coaching you and telling you how to row. You can get a little, you put your tablet or your phone and just or even your computer and broadcast the workouts and row along with the instructor. And and I'll put links to these all below, but there's a few people that are out there. Dark Horse Rowing. He's, he posts a lot of different workouts, gives a lot of good tips. There's an old Olympic rower, Eric Murray, who posts live workouts every Sunday. I had a great story with him, drinking a few too many beers and stealing a swan out of, in Lucerne, Switzerland, Aiden. That's a story for another time. Niall O'Toole is an Irish lad, and he's running a crew class online. So you can follow him and see what he's doing. And there's another guy called Training Tall out of California, and he's posting workouts, and he posts a lot of rowing machine reviews, so you might be able to get some information from them. I've not been able to find, in my search, I wasn't able to find many women who are running classes or people who are running classes for adults or seniors. So things that were more specific to the aging population. So if any of you know of any of these resources, please let us know. And Anna Marie does this. So that's why we have Anna Marie here with all of her amazing experience. And this is what she does full time every day. So we'll have more from Anna Marie a little bit later. And so we'll talk about water rower. There's lots of different types of water rowers. We sell some versions of the water rower through Oar Board. We love the water rower at Oar Board because of the sound that it makes. It's a gentle swishing sound. Here's an old friend of mine, Xeno. He was an old Olympic rower as well. And he created his own signature water rowing machine. And so there's many different types of this machine that are out there. There wasn't much patent. You'll see Costco has a version, and you can probably see dozens of these water rower type machines that are out there and are available if you start cruising around the internet and looking. And I'll talk about dynamic rowers. So if you're a rower who's thinking about, should I buy a Philippi or an Empacher or a Fluid Design or a Hudson, and you probably own 2 of those boats, if not 3, you should probably get a dynamic rower. It's the elite rower for, I'd say it's the best rower I've found that simulates flat water rowing out there. You'll see the top Olympic programs are all migrating towards this style of rower. It's my personal favorite because of back injuries that I've had. It has a shock to cushion my back at the bottom. That's what I like about it. And with the dynamic piece, the fan goes back and forth and the seat goes there. There's a number of other ways to do dynamic rowing. One is to just get sliders for your Concept 2. That's a few $100s. And again, that lowers the stress on your back. It also creates a different level of challenge to try and balance it. And you see Concept 2 has a dynamic machine. In my experience, I found it a little bit clunkier than the RP3. And I've not tried this other dynamic rower that Water Rower had put out for a while. And there's a few other ideas when we start thinking about rowing. There's some innovative designs coming out. This float rower looks really interesting. It wobbles back and forth and frontwards and backwards, and you have 2 separate handles that you're pulling on. That's quite, that's quite interesting when you think about it. I've not tried it, but it's fascinating to see as a myself, a rowing, bit of a rowing nerd, someone who's watched the sport and watched the developments over the last 20 years. There's also DIY rowers. I'd followed this guy from, I forget where he was. He's somewhere in Africa actually, and he had a maybe even Kenya, and he didn't have money to buy a Concept 2 rower, so he built his own rower out of wood and bamboo, and then eventually we crowdfunded some money for him and got him a Concept 2 to train on. But you can build your own rowers, and they look like they're moderately effective. I think especially if you look at these guys and follow some of their plans and innovate if you're a crafty, creative person yourself. And if any of you build one, I want to hear about it because it looks like a fun project. And like I said, there's elastic rowers, hydraulic rowers, which I wouldn't recommend for much anything else other than, mobility training, flexibility training, grooving in a certain type of motion. I don't know that you would get the cardiovascular benefit that we truly enjoy from rowing machines. And you also know that there's the fitness factory that's out there, and I haven't covered many of them. Sunny is one of the big ones that just keeps on creating. Like they've got a fleet of engineers, and they're designing and they're building and they're creating all these new rowing machines. And I haven't tried them, I haven't tested them, but they're really neat to look at. So from a resource perspective, I'm going to actually bring up this screen, which is get rid of Jeffrey's piece. And there's a few resources that we can use. The best resources that I found actually comes from the UK. It's from this guy who's been following rowing machines for the past 15 years or so. And he covers almost all of the rowers. He goes into a deeper guide if you want to read and click and look around. He covers, he's covering the hydro and regatta, as you can see, and he covers some of the more budget models. So if you're interested in the budget model, I'd suggest you check him out and get some of his recommendations. He's pretty on point and pretty experienced. So I would trust what this guy has to say. And as you can see, he has the recommendations by price and continues to review most of the ergs. And you can see the ergs that he recommends on his website. And you can also see there's this one woman, Kristen Nelson from Treadmill Review Guru. And so if you're less of a rower and more of a gym person, you can read some of her reviews as well. I'll put links to her, what she's written up as well. As you can see, she covers the footprint, the maximum weight that the rower can be, or how much the rower weighs, the maximum weight that the rower can be, and a lot of other really good information so that you can make an informed decision if you'd like to. So let me pull this back up. And I put together my own little spreadsheet right here just to cover some of the more major rowers that I've seen out there on the model, where you can see there's different styles of resistance, fan, magnetic, water. Some of them are, like the Nordic Track has both magnetic and fan resistance. And I have a trust scale that I put beside them simply due to the length that a company has been in the market and the ability for them to service their clients and to deliver a product of a high quality. So that just because the trust isn't there doesn't mean that the global trust doesn't exist and it can't be built. But this is what I've covered. And I'll post links to a lot of this information here, and I will, and I'll give you a quick little summary of what I've thought. So the standard is the Concept 2. There's a lot of flexibility in that. I think you can achieve most of your goals with this. For the, let me just double check that I have, for the, well, this is what I wanted. Yeah, the Model E right here is the bigger one. And I'd say the Model E is more comfortable to sit down and get up off of. The Model D is the classic one. And they're building new monitors and these kinds of things for this if you want to track your workouts. For workouts, I'd recommend the Hydro. Again, great company, well-funded, very high quality people that are doing it from the people I've gotten in contact with. The workouts are really good. The instructors have a lot of great energy and they put good music behind it. Water rowers, recommend get it if you like the noise of the quiet, the aesthetic, you can get that. And for high performance and most like flat water rowing, the dynamic rower. So again, I talked about some other rowing machine guides that are out there, and I'm going to try answering some of your questions if you have them right now. Then we'll move it on to Anna Marie. And this was one question: have you tried the Bio Rower? This looks interesting. And so that was from Rachel. I've tried the Bio Rower, and I've rowed it at the head of the Charles, where a lot of this equipment is showcased. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Yeah, but it was, it's kind of awkward. It was awkward to store, and what wasn't a good fit for my own personal usage of it. Where I'd think the Bio Rower would be useful is for a rowing club, or if you're trying to teach someone how to row in a scull. As you can see, you're using each of the oars. It gives you a, and they hook into, I think it looks like a fan device, or it might even be it looks something like kind of fan flywheel device. And you can see it's on sliders as well, so you get some of the dynamic effect. So there's, there's certainly some benefit to that as well. I'm not sure about the price, but it's a, it looks like a great machine, and it has a good imitation of being on the water. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, well, what we'll do now is we'll move to Anna Marie from Amaze Active Health. I'll give you a quick introduction to Anna Marie. And
well, I have a comment then, if nobody else
okay.
has a comment. That was
Please.
incredible. That was incredible, Adam. I had no idea. I knew that there was a Concept 2 and a water rower, and that was it. There you go. That's where I'm coming from. That's amazing. Thank you for that. Fascinating. What's out there?
Well, I'm going to give you an introduction. Anna Marie is a kinesiologist and works with, what would you say, aging adults aging gracefully.
older adults is what I typically say, but all ages, but a lot of older adults. Yeah.
Yes, has worked with lots of adults in kinesiology and rehab, helping them stay fit, fit for the challenge of aging. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. And while she was building her career as a health professional, she went to the Olympics a number of times and had even won the Canadian Indoor Rowing Championships twice and the World Indoor Rowing Championships 3 times. And she's been working as a kinesiologist ever since. and also just we joke around, we're decompressing from the world of high performance sport and adapting to the world of being fit for life. So welcome, Anna Marie, and I'm excited to learn from you and see what you have to share.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I've actually found like the rowing piece has come in handy with the rehab piece, as Mike, I think you were talking about kind of using it to rehab from injuries and from conditions that you might have. So I found it quite useful, especially for upper body stuff, actually for shoulders and necks and stuff like that, with a good background, some good rehab background, and then building in the rowing machine. It strengthens the back. Obviously, it's the most muscles in the body are working, but it can really, most of the things we tend to do in our life are ahead of us. And this rowing movement is actually strengthening up the back muscles. So it can be very helpful for many, many different injuries and things. So yeah, so I only know the concept too, as I was saying. I don't know very little about the other one. So I'll tell you what I know about this guy and how to set it up. And I do teach classes on these as well. Right now, everybody's in their own homes teaching these or taking these classes online, but here in Victoria, we are able to, when we are able to get outside, we can do the classes outside, and hopefully someday we'll be able to join all year round again with the classes. So, and most of my clients, as Adam was saying, are adults. I taught a 9-year-old girl actually came into the Monster Erg, this competition at the University of Victoria. And she was the youngest ever athlete at the Monster Erg, which was very exciting. She was very excited to get involved. And then the next year they actually made an age cutoff. So that was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, so the machine is great for kind of all ages, all fitness levels. And the nice thing about the classes, if you've ever attended in-person rowing class, or even a bike spin class for that matter, you can, the instructor may be going through the roof with all this enthusiasm and power and technique and all that stuff, and you can just be kind of rowing along back and forth at the same time and picking up or taking in whatever information that makes sense to you that you're willing to take in, and then applying what works for you on the machine. So it's nice in that way. You can kind of get into a rhythm and a feel on the machine, and somebody like Adam can get a wicked workout, and somebody like my 82-year-old gentleman who shows up for classes, he can also get the workout that he's looking for from the machine at the same time, which is pretty awesome. So to start with the concept 2, and with all rowing machines, I imagine you can probably adjust the feet. And so you just lift up the tab on the foot and slide it up or down. I usually recommend people, when they allow their heel to drop all the way to the bottom, that the strap comes just at or above the ball of the foot, so that when you come into the catch position up here, the heel is able to come away from the foot plate. The shin kind of comes to about perpendicular. And you make sure, obviously this sounds obvious, but make sure that both feet are the same height. I have a particularly long legs compared to my torso, so I also use a couple of seat pads as well. That kind of lifts my bottom up a bit higher than the heels as well. So that's another way you can kind of modify your positioning on the rowing machine, on any machine really. A couple of foam pads, so that when you come up into the catch, your knees aren't stuck up your nose. You're able to kind of get your shoulders ahead of the hips. We'll go over that in just a sec. And feel fairly comfortable in that full kind of compressed position with the shins perpendicular to the ground. The other thing with a concept 2, and most of these other machines I imagine as well, is that you need to, there's ways to adjust how much resistance you're getting from the machine. So on a concept 2, there's the numbers from 1 to 10 on the side of the machine. And if you go to a fitness center, you'll see that cranked all the way up to 10. And typically that's because people don't know how to use the machine well. They don't know how to apply the power through their legs. I would row and trained for 2 Olympics at about a 3 or a 4. And Adam was saying that he's kind of at 4 or 5 on a general well-maintained machine. That's kind of where you can kind of plot the monitor. So usually I suggest people starting out maybe go to about a 3. And then there's a way when you're setting the machine up to actually set your drag factor as well. So I can give you more information about that. But I think we'll get, that's a good kind of starting place, is maybe about a 3 if you're a slighter person. Typically women, I suggest around a 3, and for anybody really starting, about a 3. And then if we're looking to compete with Adam, stick it up at about a 5. but wait a few weeks. Okay, so then the machine, this particular machine, it will start working when you start working. So you can push a button to turn it on, or you can just start rowing. So you'll get yourself strapped in. You do want the straps to be kind of fairly snug there, so that when you come to the finish or the release position of the stroke back here, you're not falling off the end of the machine. Your feet are attached nice and firmly to the foot stretchers. And then, as I said before, they're at the right height so that when you come forward, your heels could lift off so your shins can get to perpendicular. So most of you know the parts of the stroke, but I'll go over it. I'll go over it with you from the beginning. So there's basically two parts of the stroke. There's the drive, and then there's the recovery. At the end of the drive, it's called the release or the finish. I usually call it the finish, but you want to keep it. You want to think about it being a continuous, seamless stroke. So you'd drive the legs down, coming into that finish or that release position, keep the handle moving at the finish, maybe keeping the handle coming into the body at one line and just slightly down to come away. The hands come away first, the body swings over next, trying to keep the spine fairly long here, but the shoulders getting just ahead of the hips. And you create this window with the handle in your arms, and your knees can come up into that window. And you keep the body angle the same all the way forward into the catch. And from that position, you're going to try to keep this body angle, again, this kind of 1 o'clock body angle, keeping that angle with the core nice and strong. Press the legs down, then the body opens up, then the arms bend, hands away, swing over, fold forward. So legs, body, arms, body, and legs, fold forward. That's probably exactly what all of you are doing every single time you get on your machine or onto your boats. So from that release position here, the handle coming into the body in a straight line. Keep the handle moving nice and smooth by tapping the hands down and away. Allowing the handle to get past the knees, and you get that by straightening the arms first and swinging over, hinging from the hips with a nice tall spine. And then allowing the handle, especially on a concept 2, allowing the handle to press into the fingers. And that will help to draw you back towards the catch. Hands away, the body swings. Floating forward, allowing the knees to come up behind the handle. And allowing the handle to draw you forward into the catch. And on the screen, there's a few numbers that are useful. The strokes per minute. And of those of you who are familiar with what's available on the screen, there should be a little box that has S/M. And then the other number I find quite useful, other than the time, is the split. And I usually teach my classes based on split. I'll just let it run there for a sec so I can keep talking. The split is the large number in the middle of the screen. So some people set it to watts. You can press the units button on a concept to change what number you're seeing. Basically, the split is telling you how long it'll take you to go 500 meters. So the harder you push with each stroke, it'll take you less time to go that same distance. And that's how Adam and me and 82-year-old David can get the same workout on the machine. The workout that we need on the machine by applying that power through the legs. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of a progression drill to start with, and then if we've got some time at the end, I'll talk a little bit about applying power to the stroke. All of this relates well to being on the water as well. And so you can consider, if you're more used to being on the water, you can consider how some of these tips might help you move your boat faster. Okay, so in the progression drill, just coming into the finish position, or that I should say release position, I always mess that up. And I suggest release to make sure that you're not stopping and hanging out and having a little cup of tea here before you get going again. So you want to come into that release position, the elbows past the body, the spine fairly tall here so you're not completely collapsed. lengthening through the spine and sitting a little bit on the back end of the sit bones. The legs are staying straight. And in this position, your core is kicked in a little bit here, even just to hold yourself up. If you have quite a bit of lower back pain, your release position might be a little bit taller. And then you can, over time, maybe work your way back or just find a position that works for you. So the elbows come past the body. You're looking to keep the forearms parallel to the ground. Don't pay too close attention to that, because I think I tend to slack a little bit, but ideally, still looking for that perfect stroke. The body stays laying back a little bit, and you're just starting with the arms only here. The interesting thing about this is once you get on the machine and you start rowing arms only, you're keeping this what I call like an 11 o'clock body angle backwards. You're keeping that angle, your core is still working here, and even though it's arms only, this takes you back to grade 11 physics, I think. Any action, like a pull, will give you an equal and opposite reaction. So you can feel your feet pushing into the foot plates. And that's the connection that you'll be feeling at the finish. And that at the end of each stroke, you still want to be able to feel a push into the foot plates as your handle comes in towards the body. From here, we're going to go to a body swing. So the hands are going to come away and the body's going to swing over, the legs are going to stay straight. So you're shifting your weight from the back of the seat to the front of the seat, back to front, as you would do in your boat as well. This can be a challenging movement. The stiffer you are, the more stubborn your hamstrings or your lower back are. But the idea here, especially with a progression, is to train this swinging over to get your shoulders ahead of the hips, to get the weight shifting from the back of the seat to the front of the seat. Because at that point, once you've swung over, at that point, then the seat is going to start to move. Then the knees are going to start to bend. And we'll do that at 1/4 slide, which is barely bending the knees, in 2. That's 1, 2, hands away, swing, tiny bend of the knees. And now we start to add the legs into it. But as I talked about before, even when you're just doing arms only, you're still able to push a little bit with the legs. So the hands away, the body swings over, the handle gets past the knees bend up behind the handle or between your forearms. And you keep that forward body angle, this tiny little way forward on the slide. And then you push the legs down first. The stomach, the core is strong to try to keep that forward body angle. The legs, and then the body, and then the arms. It all happens very quick in this very short slide length. From here, we're going to go to half slide, which is about a 90-degree bend of the knees. In 2, that's 1, give you a bit of warning. 2, and take your time to come up to half. So a little bit further up the slide here. Still maintaining everything you just practiced from that finish and that release position. Forearms hopefully still parallel to the ground. The elbows past the body and you're pulling back with your elbows, your shoulder blades, not just by bending the wrists to come into the body, but the stronger muscles in the back of the body. And you're being patient with the bend of the knees and that roll of the slide as you make your way just halfway up the slide. Next up is 3/4 slide. And that's almost all the way forward. I usually suggest your feet stay flat on the foot plates. We'll go in 2. That's 1. And again, we're going to take the time. We're going to finish the same way. Take your time forward. 3/4 slide. So a little bit more length on the slide. The shins hopefully not quite perpendicular to the ground. And that same thing around the back. Turn the forearms parallel, the elbows working past the body. Open or 11 o'clock position here, holding the knees straight as the hands come away and the body swings over. And then from here, whoops, after that, then the seat rolls forward, keeping the chest up and keeping that forward angle all the way into the catch. And then we'll head up to full slide, taking time to get there in 2. That's 1, 2, take your time. heels lift. You're not pulling yourself forward. You're allowing the handle or the chain to draw you forward to the catch, keeping that forward angle all the way into the catch. Finish, hands away, swing, feeling that weight shift on the seat, loading towards the catch, kind of allowing the machine to do that work to draw you forward. And then to add the pressure to the legs. Oh, did I talk about the rhythm? No, I didn't. So you're going to want to work quite a bit harder on the drive, and this will come out a little bit more as we add pressure. But thinking of that drive being a bit quicker, and this recovery feeling and being a bit longer. And that ratio will kind of be extended a little bit as you add more pressure to the drive. And again, that pressure, we're looking to build that pressure from the legs. So strong through the core, we keep the body angled forward. We're going to press into the heels, try to get the feet flat onto the foot plates a little bit quicker without changing what's happening in the upper body. So you can listen for the sound of the machine if you can hear it. I'm not sure how well you can hear it on Zoom. Maybe if I climb up, you'll be able to hear it. I'm going to add pressure in 2. This one. Might be able to feel that or hear that change in the sound on the machine. But my stroke rate itself hasn't changed. Just me standing up a little bit quicker out of the catch, the body staying angled forward as the legs drive, and uncoiling or unfurling the body, the legs first, and the body opens, and then the arms bend. So probably a lot of that is quite familiar to you when it comes to the rhythm and the sequencing of things. That's pretty much it for however long you want, an hour. If you want to come to my classes.
Well, this is, so I think if you're okay with it, Anna Marie, we'll continue the conversation for a few more minutes.
Yes.
Unless you have, okay, we'll continue the conversation. If any of you have to go, we have hit the hour, so feel free to log off, but we'll continue the conversation until there's no more conversation to be had. And I know there was a number of questions that came in through the registration app before this. So we'll start pushing some questions towards you. And have you ever rowed a water rower before, Anna Marie?
Once or twice, yeah. Actually, some clients have them, and they ask me to teach them how to use them. I'm like, oh, let me try. So,
have you noticed any difference between the Concept 2 and the water rower?
Yeah, there's certainly things that I'm accustomed to with the Concept 2, as this has been the one that I've been training and working on. The sound is really nice from the water rower. I like that, and it's a little bit softer of a stroke, I guess. There's not as much kind of hammering, it feels, and it must just be the water versus air, that resistance. It's a bit more, I think it's a bit more gentle on my body as I can feel it. Similar to what I imagine, I can't remember the name of it, but you talked about the one that has the little shock absorber at the back. That was really fascinating to me. That could probably kind of soften the load. Both ends of the Concept 2 are on the ground, right? So you're kind of pulling against cement, I guess, or pulling against the air, but yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's good insight. And yeah, I've noticed that too, that the water rower is a little softer. And the splits, I've also noticed it's easier to get a lower split on the water rower than it is on the Concept 2. So
I didn't try that.
Yeah.
The other thing I've noticed about the water rower and the Concept 2, most of them, when you bring them to a rest, the seat will roll forward if it's kind of a well-maintained. I've found that the water rowers, they just stay where they are. So that idea that when I was coming forward into the catch and letting the handle kind of draw me forward into the catch, the handle, as you can tell, if you let go of this thing, it would go flying up into the catch anyways, and the seat will roll forward anyways. So really there's very little I find on this machine that you have to do to come forward. You just need to swing your body over and the machine will take you forward. I found the water rower, the seat doesn't do that as naturally, I guess. So I feel like you might be pulling yourself forward.
Yeah, no, that's really good feedback. That's really good observation. So I have a question from Jeffrey Lindsay in Austin, where he talks about using resistance, and he's wondering, do you use resistance higher than a level 5 ever on the Concept 2?
Yeah, you can train for that. It will be kind of like having a bucket, an open bucket, dragging an open bucket behind your boat, if you can imagine that, rowing through the water with the bucket filling up with water as you're rowing, or rowing of the really big oar. And you could certainly build up to that. And that was part of we didn't actually do a lot of that sort of training in my era, but or on the team that I was on, but I've heard of that a lot before, creating that resistance as more of a strength type workout.
Okay, so if you're looking for strength, you can put it up, but you'd have to work up to it to be safe.
I would say so, yeah.
The next question from Jeffrey is about a heart rate monitors. So he says, I've seen elite rowers use heart rate monitors that wrap around their chest. And I think you can actually have the heart rate monitor show up on some of the Concept 2 monitors as well. Would you recommend incorporating heart rate monitors into rowing machine training?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly if you have a heart condition and you've been, if you've got somebody guiding you through that, it would be a very good kind of a safety measure to use. I've worked with one gentleman who had some heart conditions and had to make sure his heart rate stayed below a certain level. And so I know that was very useful for him. He had a certain magnet and the machine could read it. I think the more recent machines, these updated machines, they talk to the monitor itself. Again, I haven't done a ton of that type of training with the training that I did, and so I tend not to focus on it because I don't. It's not kind of it's not really what I know, but certainly you'd be able to tell if you are getting the workouts that you're looking for, if that's an area of interest for you, to focus your workouts around the heart rate. That could be some really good feedback as well.
Yeah, so as long as you're doing it safely, you're not using it to push yourself too hard, you have some kind of medical consultation, especially if you have a heart condition. And I may also add, if it keeps you motivated, right? And again, that's a big part of exercise and staying active for life, is just keeping motivation. And one part of motivation is certainly novelty. So if you can try something new and it keeps you motivated by trying something new, then do it. That would be what I might add. And I'm continuing to go through the questions here. And
while you're reading, Adam, I'll
yes.
just make a little comment that there's a lot of parallels with cycling. Obviously, the dynamic machine looks very much like Peloton for cycling. Especially with that ecosystem of, and the subscription model for their business. But, just to the heart rate monitor, I wear a heart rate monitor a lot when I'm cycling. And it's good for knowing when you're reaching threshold and, and for staying within certain rates, and training by heart rate, is possibly, more sensitive than training on a power meter, for example. On the cycling, because it's what your heart's doing rather than what a meter is measuring your muscles doing. So that's pretty. I quite like the heart rate monitor for that.
Yeah, well, that's good input, and certainly a good point. Heart rate training does access different training zones that can help you, increase something called your lactic threshold. So, when you push hard and your body starts to burn, that's lactic acid. So if you train at a certain heart rate, you can increase your body to process lactic acid and increase your aerobic fitness that way. And there's Orange Theory Fitness, for example, if you've heard of that as a gym, their whole fitness model is built around heart rate training. And so they want to stay within the orange zone of heart rate training. There's green, I think maybe green, yellow, orange, red. And the orange piece is where you maximize lactate mobilization. In your body.
Oh, can I say, Adam, just one follow-up comment on my question?
Yeah.
That was really helpful info. Thank you. But I'll just say, as a relative newcomer to rowing, when I first started trying to track my progress, I would just sort of fixate on how many watts I was putting up on the screen to keep track of. Okay, well, I had a high watt day last time. I was a little lower today, so I guess that means I wasn't trying as hard. But the more I did it, the more I learned that I guess the key thing to monitor is my heart rate, and I've been using a heart rate monitor on my new Apple Watch, and
How do I get out?
I found that even if my legs are fatigued and I can't produce as much power, if I just focus on getting my heart rate up to that threshold, then I can know I'm having a good workout, even if I'm not as powerful as I would like to be.
Yeah, well, I think that's good insights, and and even brings up the discussion point that the body goes in waves, and we have lots of when we're using exercise as as something as part of our life. Life is complex. We have different stressors in our life. We have work, or we have family, or we have health issues, and all these other issues outside of our life will play into how we show up for our workout and how our body responds. So we'll have, at times, we can have we won't be getting the scores that we necessarily would have wanted to, but at the end of the day, just showing up and doing the work keeps that foundation going of fitness. And fitness is a journey. It's an adventure, actually. It's more of an adventure than a straight line. So let's go to the next question, Anna Marie. I use the erg, and this is from John Stapleton. I use the erg not only to stay in shape, but to work on technique. Any tips about working on technique on the erg?
Yeah, certainly. I like that progression drill that I just showed you there, and even taking 10, 15 strokes at each of those levels, or taking a few full strokes and then going back to a shorter stroke for a couple, and then trying to maintain that change that you made when you return to that full stroke. So if it's a rhythm thing, or a sequencing thing, or positioning thing, or you're bending your wrist at the finish or whatever, there's certainly some drills or pausing at certain parts of the stroke as well that can be quite useful as well. And the nice thing about the erg or indoor rowing is that it kind of takes a lot of the variables out of the picture, right? There's no wind, there's little chance of falling off. I've seen it done, but everything's fairly linear and predictable, and you can really kind of focus on the technique. And so taking those variables out leaves other technical parts that you can work on the water. But if you think about kind of staying centered on your seat and pushing even with your feet, and the position of your body at each of these points of the stroke, that can be a great place to work on that. In my mind, how my mind works, I usually have this checklist of things that I go through, whether or not I'm teaching a class. And if I'm teaching a class, I just verbalize that checklist, really is what I'm doing. But this checklist of thing, okay, how's my finish? Good, and the hands are away, good, okay, and I'm swinging over, I can feel the weight shift to the front of the seat. Great, and now I can feel when I do that, the weight drops into my heels. Okay, I can feel the handle drawing me forward. I can feel my heels are relaxed still, and I'm not pulling myself up the slide. And I kind of go through the stroke with this constant, it's irritating sometimes, checklist in my head. And then kind of working your way through that, and any parts of your checklist that you might have, you would be able to, you could always come and repeat that part of the stroke and then come back again, or see pause there and see kind of what are you feeling? Where is it in your feet or your bottom or your arms, or are you tense in the neck or whatever it is? So yeah, I find a checklist, or if you want to start thinking like me, have a little bit of a checklist, but kind of moving through these technical points. Yeah. And there's quite a few drills out there and things as well. So.
Well, I love that. And when you're talking about the checklist and just being so very mindful of your body, it's very meditative too. And I think that we've done a few of these video pieces at Oar Board about the mental health benefits of rowing. And I think one of the big mental health benefits of rowing is that piece where you get out of your brain into your body. And if I'm thinking about the pressure of my feet on the footstops, and I'm trying to figure out how to hold my spine, and then I'm thinking about how I'm moving my body, and I'm being very body aware and moving my body in a conscious way, I'm not thinking about any other thought. And there's a lot of spiritual healing and mental healing that comes from that process, as well as just the obvious physiological benefits that come from the sport.
Absolutely. And I might just even add to that. I've studied quite a bit of chronic pain as well for the area of my business that deals with kinesiology and how to help people manage and work their way through chronic pain. And mindfulness is a huge part of that. I had one client in particular who was in quite a lot of pain from a car bicycle accident, and I got her eventually onto the rowing machine, and she said that when she could, it was kind of like getting into a zone, right? When you're constantly thinking about what you're doing and what you're feeling and how where your body is in space, there was moments where being able to focus on that instead of this constant pain information in her brain, it actually provided her some relief. It was kind of short-lived to start with, but it's that process of actually paying attention to what's happening right now. And in those situations of chronic pain, there's like a misfiring basically in the brain, that the brain is telling you this is dangerous, that you have to stop. And in some cases it is, and that's why we have pain. But in other cases, if you can retrain the brain to be able to focus on something different, it can actually provide quite a bit of relief. So anyways, thank you.
Yeah, it's almost like the comment from the man right at the start who was talking about he felt the pain in his back and he sat on the rowing machine and the pain was still there, but he felt better for it at the end of the workout. It's good. And I'm getting a few more questions coming in through the chat, so we'll go through those. And again, if anyone needs to move on to something else, feel free to go. We're past our time, but we'll definitely stay. As long as you keep asking questions, we'll keep having the conversation. So here's a question from Ron Schmidt. He's saying, I feel like I struggle to lean forward to the catch on the oar board. Is there a seat height to shoes difference compared to a skull? So that's I guess that's a question for me. And there you can adjust the height of the feet on the oar board. There's little straps that go underneath the heels, Ron, and so you can raise the feet up. From my experience, if the lower you can put the feet down, the easier it is to gain compression at the catch. So make sure that you're putting the straps all the way down and your feet are as low as possible onto the oar board.
Adam, I am all the way to the bottom and I still feel like I'm kind of going uphill a little.
Okay. So I'm more than that. Yeah, I'd have to look and see, the other thing is to think about the foot positions. The oar board's designed to be very simple in the way that it's set up from a rigging perspective. So there's 3 slots or 4 slots if you have one of the older models where you can place the feet. So I'd want to make sure that you're experimenting with the foot position to make sure that it's in the right place. Generally what you want to do with your legs fully extended, your back in, like Anna Marie says, in the 11 o'clock position. Make sure that with your thumbs over the edge of the oars, they can go gracefully past your rib cage. And so another thing is just to play with where the foot position is and see if there is any issues. And if you're still having issues, see if you can get one of your friends or someone to take a video and send it over, and I might be able to look at it and see what else is going on. But that's what I would think off the top of my head.
Great. And I love Anna Marie's idea of a couple seat pads to adjust height. I never even thought about that. So thank you.
To make it slightly more comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have to be careful when you get higher up. Just remember, yeah, exactly. You'll be like, woo, very top heavy up here. So like a little bit can go a long way. So
well, and that's true on the Oar Board. If you do lift up the seat, you will have more room at the catch too. It kind of like I've gotta see. Oh, you can't see it because it's green. my seat pad that I'm sitting on right now. So another question was, how does your split on a skull or erg compare to the Oar Board? So the Oar Board moves slower than a skull. It's designed to be flat and stable. It's very good at transporting. It's better for rough water, but a skull, I would go, I haven't, to be honest, I don't track my splits anymore. I'm done with racing. So I know I go faster in a racing shell because I do, but when I'm on the Oar Board, I'm not going out there to race anyone. I'm just going out there to explore and adventure and get some time in. You know, maybe I'll go with my kids, or I'll go explore a beach, go drop a crab trap or something. So the Oar Board is slower, and that's what it's designed to do. It's designed for stability and comfort in a different way. So another comment from John for Anna Marie. John said, I love your explanation of the stroke cycle and the idea of the pause. So a great idea to cycle through the checklist in your head. And I think that's, there's some conversations about the Apple Watch, but I think that's getting close to the end. And what I'll do is I'll share my screen as well. And I want, before we say goodbye to Anna Marie, I also want to say thank you. And I'm going to put her screen up, her desktop too. So she does offer kinesiology treatments online and classes online. So if any of you from around the world, found like you've connected with Anna Marie and you want to work with her to keep your body in check, she's definitely available for hire. And I also want to talk about the Oar Board Spring Challenge. This came from Michael Rawlings, who unfortunately had to go. But Michael Rawlings is doing the Concept 2 World Erg Challenge, and I'll send out another note. So if anyone wants to participate with him on his team, like he said, the guy he was going to do it with, suffered, he had just amputated a leg and he suffered from some heart issues. So he had to drop out of the team. So if any of you want to participate in the Concept 2 World Erg Challenge with Michael Rawlings, that's happening from now until April 15th. And what we're going to do as well with Oar Board, just to, again, keep each other motivated and fit, we're going to have our own Oar Board Spring Challenge, and we have 3 categories: fitness, fun, and adventure. And so the idea being that we'll have, see, Ed Mackel has signed up already. We'll track our distances together, and we'll, encourage one another to keep getting out there and keep moving. And we'll also, the plan is to also have prizes for fun and adventure. And in the newsletter we just sent out, there's a video of Michael Carr. He's got this great Boston accent where he took his Oar Board out to the local lighthouse and is talking to the lighthouse keeper. So record your adventure, and for the good adventures, we're giving out these Oar Board toques, of which I don't know where my toque is. And toque is Canadian for hat. Or I've heard some Americans, I've got a non-Oar Board toque, beanie. Some people call them beanies. I don't know, but It's a hat and it has Oar Board on it. It's got a nice little logo. So we'll have prizes for, for participants. And again, the goal is, to build community, to encourage one another for fitness, fun, and adventure. And the fun piece is to have a Oar Board 2021, post pictures of you on your Oar Board or your erg on social media with the hashtag, and we'll find out a way to give out as many prizes as we can. But everyone will get some kind of certificate or something, and we'll have fun together. The plan is we're going to start April 1st. I'll send out a few more emails, and we'll get. We've had about half a dozen people now sign up so far, so that's enough to do it. So if you guys want to participate, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have you as part of the community. So I will post a lot of these notes that I took right here on this video, hopefully later today. And if there are any other questions or comments.
Thank you so
I've
much.
got one more comment.
Okay, Jeffrey.
If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually signed on for a crowdfund project online for a new erg called the Whipper.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
anyone see ads for that? Yeah. I signed up for that. I wanted to get two ergs so I could row with my girlfriend at home and get her into rowing. So I'll let y'all know how that is when I get it.
Yeah, let us know about the Whipper. I've seen it online. I haven't tried it, but it looks,
Yeah,
looks like
the
fun.
versatility looks fun. You can use it like a ski erg and, lots of different configurations. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Well, I'll let Anna Marie say goodbye, and then I'll say goodbye.
Thank you so much. It was just such a pleasure to be here with you guys and get an idea of what all you are doing as ambassadors. I'm very happy. I'll send some information to Adam. If you want to attend classes live, like at the same time as I'm teaching them, your first class will be free, and then there's going to be a discount. I got to figure out how to do all this stuff. I don't really know how to do this yet, but give me a day or two to get the admin team on side, which is me. You get the admin team on side of this, but I'll send out Adam a discount code if you'd like to sign up. I do the classes live, but I also have an on-demand library. So if you're whatever in Switzerland and you can't attend a 5:30 in the evening class on the west coast of Canada, then you could attend them. You could attend at your own time as well. So I'll get Adam all that information and we'll get that to you.
Oh, that's wonderful. And yeah, again, everyone stay in touch via email on the list. And again, we're building community here. So if you have any ideas of who or what we should talk about next, please let me know, because every month I'm looking for someone or something to cover. And this one came from a conversation with Michael Rawlings as he was getting ready for the World Erg Challenge. So thank you, everyone. Stay fit, have some fun, and maybe even along the way you'll have a little adventure.
Right. Thanks, Adam.
Bye.